Do you remember when magazines were a thing? Hello there, this is Alex from Light Camera Debate, and today I saw Devil Wears Prada 2. I hope you're all good, enjoying the bank holiday, and are subscribing. Two more, and we'll be on 40, so please subscribe and hit the bell. I saw The Devil Wears Prada 2 today, the sequel to the original film Devil Wears Prada, with a stellar cast, still as many people as it was from the original cast. We still have Meryl Streep, we still have Emma Blunt, we still have Anne Hathaway, and we have Stanley Tucci. So the main cast are all back. But things have changed. The magazine runway is in decline. More people are using their phones and actually reading a physical magazine. And it's a big point of the film that magazines in print are dead, which I disagree with. I think magazines sell as well in print, but not as well as online these days. You know, the whole Stanley Tucci character is basically saying all the time that people scroll, they don't look at a magazine in form. It's frail, it's brittle. Our magazine is so not great any longer, but the online one gets read. Basically, that's what he's saying a lot throughout the film. And Anne Hathaway is trying to be the journalist. You know, the film starts with this very bad thing, and it actually did happen in real life. I don't know if you've ever seen the article that Andrew Lloyd Webber, when he did Cinderella, it failed so badly that the whole cast was sacked. But they weren't sacked in person; they were sacked by email. And this is how the film starts, with everybody at the magazines he's winning an award for getting sacked, so he has no choice but to go back to runway and get a job. And Meryl Streep is horrifically nasty to it. You know, she gets the job, and at the same time getting the job, she sacks the person who had her job in front of her, basically. There's great bits where she's got the lovely big car, and you know it's all chauffeur driven, and her Anne Hathaway's character is basically thrown out of the car and said, "Get the subway." You know, you can get the subway, and he has to get the subway back to her flat in not the greatest part of Manhattan to begin with. She does get this beautiful flat eventually once the job starts paying off, because he's told, you know, you're not working enough, you know, these articles aren't as good. And she ends up spending all night, you know, making the best articles, and that gets her the best clothing and the best, you know, flat in Manhattan. As Stanley Tucci, and Stanley Tucci is just awesome in this film. He's brilliant as this sort of fixer, the guy who is under Meryl Streep's character, and he's sort of downtrodden. He doesn't really take much notice from him till she has no choice but to make him do the speech he's written for her in the Milan bit when we're in Italy. And this film is just awesomely beautiful. It's shot in New York, and it's all the fashion. If you love clothes, you love high-end couture, you like beautiful men's clothing. The costume, I cannot find. I've just been looking on ChatGPT to see where Stanley Tucci's suit is. It's a beautiful three-piece suit. He's got a beautiful shirt on. It doesn't say, and the moccasin shoes. Well, I'd like to know, but I have found out it does say where the sunglasses are. So I'm going to see if I can get a pair of them. The sunglasses are Tom Ford sunglasses. Tom Ford's private range. I'm going to see if I can get a pair of those because they look so good. They're a bit like, I don't know if you can see in the film, I'm wearing Tom Ford at the moment glasses, wise I always wear Tom Ford because they're really well made and a bit round. I don't know if you've seen the film. So the style is really important. We have this whole cattiness of Emily Blunt's character, who's funny enough is called Emily, so it must have been good when you're reading the script and trying to remember the character. She absolutely hates Anne Hathaway's character, and she's just this really nasty, misogynistic. Look at me, you know, when I buy the magazine, because he's got this really rich boyfriend who can afford to buy the magazine, and he basically goes, well, we should have black and white. It should be old Hollywood. He goes, oh, I know it should be on the calendar, the front of the calendar. It should be me. It should be me. And he's really upper. So, but you know, by the end of the film, we start to see that she's actually quite a nice person under all the nastiness. You know, she says to Anne Hathaway, I did try ring you when she was sort of thrown out of one of the years before. And they do eat chip because you're not meant to eat chips. There's lots of references to the nastier side of fashion. There's the whole, you know, don't eat anything with carbohydrates in, and you know, you do this, you'll be fired immediately. And it's a lot of commercialism. There's a lot of you know, corporateness in it. There's a lot, as I said, of things being brand mentioning, and the whole way through the film, there's dresses, there's any design you can possibly think, and it shows part of the armor of the character, and it shows, you know, the Miranda character wears Armani and Chanel and Vivienne Westwood, and these are clothes were only she would wear. And it's actually a very funny film. I did enjoy it because I've never actually put my hands up and never actually seen Devil Wears Prada. I've heard about it and I know what it is, and I know it got Anne Hathaway her career based. And she's amazing. I want to see the Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro film that's coming out soon. That looks really good. I think it's the when they keep advertising today where there's a safe heist and the guy doing the safe is deaf, so he can hear the clicks of the safe. It looks rather good. So this film is really funny. I enjoyed it more than I thought it was going to. Good soundtrack. We have to talk about the music because there is two sets of music in this film, and it's very cleverly marketed. You can get both soundtracks on Apple Music or wherever you get your music from. I'm hoping that they bring the music, which is all done by Lady Gaga, which she is in the film. Then they're in Milan and they're doing the sort of runway, because a piece of her music's called Runway. She talks to Meryl Streep and says, "It's all your fault. Didn't get the top bill," and it's a good bit between her and Lady Gaga, so that's good as well. The music on that is also lots of other people. I noticed on the soundtrack there's a bit from Ray, there's a bit from Laurie. It's not all available yet. If you know, as you tap on the tracks on Apple Music, it doesn't come up. But I'm looking forward to hearing all of that. But the music's really important because, like, when the music in Sex and the City, because it's a lot of people from Sex and the City are involved with this. The costume designers are originally were from Sex and the City, and they've come up from that basically. So it's really, bang bang. It's a really fast film. I love all the bits on the catwalks at the fashion shows. They're really well done. You can see they've been to lots of actual fashion shows and taken tips of how they're all done. And every movement there, the paparazzi are completely over and they're snapping. And every time Miranda and the Meryl Streep character gets out of the car, she's snapped on the spot. But I didn't get the right wording earlier. It's actually what I meant to say is there's a lot of product placement. Starbucks' shares will be going up by the spot on this film. Every time they have a coffee, it's from Starbucks, and every time in the office they need to think it's like they have a coffee, and there is product placement everywhere. There's Apple phones, there's Apple, there's a lot of paper journalism still. There's this one shot right near the end where Meryl Streep is actually looking over the original paper bits before it goes on. She's working out the layouts, for DTPing, and she's actually looking at it in paper form before it all goes online digitally, which is Anne Hathaway's character. But it's just a really fun ensemble piece, and it does show you how things have changed in media since 2006. We don't. I still, because I'm a dinosaur basically, but I still read a magazine by scanning, and I would get it in paper form still. But I think a lot of people, if you ask them these days, do use Apple or wherever you get your papers and magazines all online from, read it that way on their phone and tablets, basically. So it is showing the decline of that. It just still looks great fun. There's lots of, great shots of Milan, and there's a big bit on Lake Como because the Emily's boyfriend is very rich and is a real plonker, basically. He's not a great guy. Lives on Lake Como, and I really would like to know, because unfortunately with this, because it's a 20th Century Fox film, the credits didn't have any audio description. It's a really bad thing on 20th Century Fox's front. Their films don't seem to have the full credits, and I would have stayed and watched them. I'd love to know if that is George Clooney's farm on Lake Como in Italy. I think it looked like it was. It looks stunning if it is. Though this film, I don't think it looks itself down anyway. It is sort of saying that this is a very facile life and you're in it for the clothes and money, and there's not much behind it, basically. And if you're not a certain style of looking and the way you look, you're not going to be, anything good for people. And that is quite a narcissistic, bad way of looking at life. But I think there's hearts to it. You've got lots of bits between the Anne Hathaway and Stanley Tucci. I made sure you got this job, kid, and it's my fault. And it's a lot. She's really appreciate that. And the bit I said at the end where Emily and Anne Hathaway's character basically eat chips, and they're not meant to. They go, "Oh, if you share them, then they don't count." So there's there are nice friendship bits as well. So I seriously recommend this film. I never saw Devil Wears Prada, and I wouldn't have thought I would have enjoyed Devil Wears Prada too. But it's very good fun. It's enjoyable, and it's one of these films. We've had this conversation here that 2 hours can be too long or not long. It didn't feel like a 2 hour film. It had a really good pace and bounced along really quickly and a good storyline. So I would seriously, over the bank holiday weekend, go and watch it. So there we go. That's my review of The Devil Wears Prada. If you're not already subscribing to the channel, please do hit the like button. You'll get lots of updates. I have another review to do in a bit because I have finally saw tonight, and I think this is insane, that I was doing stuff in my kitchen and my sky glass in the kitchen talks when you go near it if you move your hand. And it started burbling earlier that Wuthering Heights, the new version, only came out on Valentine's Day, which is February the 14th, that Wuthering Heights was on Sky Cinema. So I thought I'd just double check that, and lo and behold, it was on Sky Cinema tonight. So I have watched Wuthering Heights, and I'll give you a full review of that. I know I'm a little bit late to the party on that film, but it was extremely good. I watched it tonight, and I'll give you a full review on a new video. Next week as well, I want to go and see Sheep Detectives, if I can get it in the right screen. And I'm really hoping that Mortal Kombat 2 comes out on next Friday is going to be really excellent. What I still can't understand how it's got a 15 certificate. It is bloody, it's gory. Every review I've read or watched on YouTube is saying that Mortal Kombat 2 is extremely violent. It should have an 18. I think in America it's got a double R, which means it's 18 plus, basically. So, as heavy and bad as you can get, basically. So that's going to be reviewed. I must sit down and watch Titanic. I also most for doing it for. I'll probably do it as well tomorrow. Um, I'm doing for the film thing I do on WhatsApp, Eternal Side of a Spotless Mind, which I have watched. So I need to do that as well. So those are 4 things coming up. So please subscribe. We're on 38. It'd be so make me happy over the weekend if we went to 40. And lots of stuff coming up. So if you're hitting the bell and like to the channel, then you'll get notifications and it will come up and you can watch it. So that's all, folks. Enjoy.